in making the payment and determining the payment to be made, we were very, very meticulous in following a procedure that would ensure credibility of the payment, to the extent that no single payment was made without seeking ministerial approval for that particular payment. It's all on record.
The media reports had suggested that the company had been paid even though it had not fully discharged its obligations. But the GRA board said the company could not be faulted on that score due to impediments they encountered beyond their control.
This is a situation where to go into the records, which in this case is an electronic record of all the calls, to go through that, you must be able to have the expertise and the equipment to track each one of the calls and eventually to establish that this is the situation, that the companies are not declaring what they should declare. You should be able to do that. But GRA, like most revenue authorities in the world, has not got neither the equipment nor expertise. So what revenue authorities do, and this you can check worldwide, is to hire a company that has the equipment and the expertise to do that as an agent of the tax administration.
He told journalists, though he witnessed the signing of the contract, he wasn't involved in the process before then, and so could not answer questions as to why Subah Info Solutions was chosen.
The agreement is between the SY Revenue Agencies Governing Board and the Subah. It's not even the GRA. So at the time that I took office, the process had virtually been concluded. And when it was signed, I just witnessed it. So it had been done before I came into office. What I did was to ensure that had it gone through all the due processes, it wasn't within my purview to justify. And in any case, I was not the one signing it.
Reacting to calls for him to step down over the scandal, he maintained he had done no wrong.
Has been applied.
So staying with that particular question.
In a related development, the Ministry of Finance says it stopped payments to Subah Info Solutions as far back as May this year. According to a statement signed by Deputy Minister Atukasil Forsing, this was after concerns had been raised by the Minister about the efficiency in implementation of the agreement. The statement says, directed the Tax Policy Unit of the Ministry of Finance and GRA to halt the payments to Subah Info Solutions Limited until a proper review of performance under the contract had been undertaken. Subsequently, it says a team was put together to review the agreement and make recommendations to the Minister about a possible renegotiation of the contract. The team is said to have only recently submitted its preliminary report to the Minister for study and further action. The statement concludes that the ministry wishes to assure the public that the report of the review would be duly implemented and that no additional payments will be made until this process is complete and value for money is assured. Work has begun on the dredging of the underpass of the bridge on River Toji at Adaklu Waya in the Volta region. The dredging brings great relief to the people of the Adaklu district and surrounding communities who for years have had to suffer flooding due to the silting of the underpass. Senior Divisional Chief of the Adaklu Traditional Area, Togbe Agbobada IV, said the dredging is just the first of a series of projects to signal all-round development of the district.
Togbe Agbobada IV was speaking to Joy News after leading about 20 chiefs and queens from the Adaklu Traditional Area to inspect the dredging works initiated by the Adaklu District Assembly, an area he says has a chronic problem of underdevelopment and poverty. The silting of 8 of the 10 passageways of the bridge, according to Togbe Agbobada, tends to cut off the predominantly farming communities from markets in the Kachi South and North districts, Ho and other market centers each time the area experiences a heavy downpour.
This bridge was made in the colonial days. You can see the structure. You see that it's an old structure. And all the ways have been blocked. So this has been causing a lot of, when there's time of flood, it casts the rest of the communities from the capital where we are now. And then most dangerously, some of our citizens have been getting drowned.
Togbe Agbobada at a media briefing said the tourist industry could be built around the Adaklu Mountains, said to be volcanic and home to vast game reserves with rare animals and birds. He promised the chiefs individual and collective support to the district chief executive and member of parliament in any effort to open up the district. He however lamented the poor state of the roads in the district. He says need to be fixed. Adaklu district, a predominantly farming area, was one of those created in 2012.
Here in Accra, President John Mahama has cut short for work to begin on the transformation of the Kwame Nkrumah Circle into a 3-tier intersection with flyovers linking major towns in the capital. He urged the engineers and contractors to work with the necessary speed to ensure they are able to complete the project within the 2-year deadline. Gifty Ando Apia reports.
President Mahama first went on a tour of the area and received briefing on what the area would look like upon completion, as well as what has been done so far. Brazilian construction firm Queiroz Galvao is the contractor. The country's ambassador to Ghana, Irene Vida Gala, pointed out their activities will be monitored to ensure the job is done.
Here, in the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, Queiroz Galvão accepted the challenge of working in the very heart of the city under the eyes of almost all citizens of Accra and its visitors. The Brazilian company and its subcontractors will be under the constant surveillance and certainly criticism of people for the inconvenience to be caused by this big construction site in such a busy area with a huge and constant flow of people and vehicles.
Transport Minister Alhaji Amin Amidu Suleimani said the project is jointly funded by the government of Ghana and its Brazilian counterpart. The project, he says, will address perennial flooding in the area and improve pedestrian safety.
The roads will be constructed to asphalted concrete surface with pedestrian walkways and bicycle paths. Improvement will be made to some of the terminals like the New Plan and other stations. These improvements include paving, provision of passenger shares, and improvement in the drainage systems. Landscaping and tree planting works will be undertaken to improve the environment around the area. Provision has been made on the routes for future bus rapid transit lanes for public transport.
President John Mahama told the gathering the traffic situation at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle largely affects businesses and other activities in the country, hence the need for the project.
Accra is growing very fast. And as a proactive government, we're not sitting for the changes in Accra to overwhelm us. We've also planned other interchanges. So we'll build an interchange at Kaswa to ease the traffic on that corridor of the city. And the motorway is going to be changed. We're going to expand it into a 6-lane motorway with an interchange at the Tema motorway runabout. We're also finalizing and working on the dualization of the Accra-Kumasi road. As I said, we're just in the first gear, and even before we have changed from the first gear, between now and December, we'll cut several significant swords for work to start on major projects that we promised in our manifesto. And so I'll ask all citizens to bear with the contractors during the 24-month period that this project will be ongoing.
The project cost is estimated at about 74.8 million euros. Authorities explain it will include police, fire service and ambulance posts to ensure swift responses to any emergencies. On a daily basis, thousands of people are seen here at the Nkrumah Circle. Some of them do business, others live here. It takes about 84,000 vehicles on a daily basis, hence the need to upgrade it, according to authorities. President John Mahama has been telling contractors and engineers to speed up the work that they've been given. Hopefully, in 2 years, if that is done, this place will be totally transformed into a 3-tier interchange. Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Nkrumah Circle, Accra.
In a related development, President John Mahama said his government is about to embark on a massive road infrastructure program to halt what he describes as social tension. Alluding to the demonstration in Ashamang over poor roads there, the president noted government will not just focus on the city but also on the road network in rural areas.
Roads, as the minister told you, have become a focal point of social tension. As you remember, some young people blocked roads in Ashaman because of the quality of their roads. Aside from that, in other sides of the country, people have demonstrated about roads. And so over the next 3 years, we're going to launch a very aggressive road sector improvement program to maintain very good roads, not only on our arterial roads, but also the roads in the regions that serve the agricultural community, that brings a lot of the food out of the rural areas to the market centers in the urban areas. We cannot continue to rely on only roads to transport everything that we need in every country that has developed. And so we're going to pursue the multimodal transport project as diligently as we can. And this is going to see the beginning of rehabilitation of our railways. Already work on the procurement for the Western Railway is far advanced. If we finish the procurement processes and the subsidiary agreements are signed, then work is going to start on the Western Railway, starting from Takrady to Kumasi, so that if you have heavy goods and containers, rather than sending them by truck, you put them on the railroad in Takrady and you go and pick your container up in Kumasi.
A pilot sport fine regime is now in effect in Accra, Tema, and the Ashanti region. The policy has been implemented now after the police shelved it back in May this year. Director of Training and Research at the Motor Traffic and Transport Unit of the Ghana Police Service tells Joy News it has become necessary now in order to reduce motor accidents in the impending festive season.
Greater Accra region, the Motor Traffic and Transport Department says it will focus on some major routes, including the Obechebi-Lamte Circle to Winneba Road, the George Walker Bush Highway, or the N1 and Circle to Nswim Road. One of the challenges confronting the scheme is infrastructure to support the payment of fines and the likelihood it will lead to more corruption of police officers. But DSP Alexander Bing says incentives have been introduced to discourage corruption of officers.
We looked at all the arterial routes or the major roads that are converging in Accra. We're talking about, first of all, Accra Township. So all the corners. We're also looking at where normally crashes occur. And therefore, we are looking at Winneba Road between Obechebi roundabout right through Malam, through Kaswa. We are also looking at the N1. We're also looking at the Sound Road. And we're talking about Kwame Nkrumah Circle right through to Sawam. We are also looking at Legon Road. We are looking at from Tetekwashi right through to Adentan. That will bifurcate into two routes. We're talking about Adentan Ayimesa. We're talking about Adentan Dodoa. We're also looking at the motorway. We're also looking at the beach road. We're also looking at other adjoining roads within the Accra metropolitan area, where we have a lot of incidents of preventable road crashes, and also where we also have a lot of vehicles that do not comply with the rules and regulations, and drivers who also don't comply with rules and regulations that leads to these preventable crashes.
He added the MTTD is also poised to take charge of the traffic situation during the festive season.
What we're going to do with regard to the enforcement of the spot fine is that we've hinged it on ICT. That is that a police officer has no option but to use a device that has the electronic data of the offender or the driver with regard to the person's license details at the DVLA. So instantly when the license number is imputed in the device, of which everything comes up automatically, and whatever offense that you have committed, a notice is generated and printed out instantly and given to you under 1 minute or 2 minutes. And the driver is not expected to pay any money to the police at the scene, but proceed to a pay point to go and redeem him or herself. Again,
he said, though the MTTD missed its target for reducing motor accidents, they are stepping up their effort.
We have the history, and our statistics have shown over time that the last quarter of every year, because of sudden increase in road users, that has to do with vehicular population of pedestrians, among others, including visitors who are normally not used to the jurisdiction. A lot of avoidable crashes occur. So our preparation has been that we continue to build the capacity of our personnel. And the administration gives them the right tools and for them to respond on a daily basis, to show their presence, to enforce the road law, and also continue with our partners to enhance lorry park sensitization and publicity in the mass media.
Meanwhile, persons who live and work in the vicinity of the Kwame Nkrumah Circle have been mulling the implications of the impending road project on their lives. While some say they are willing to sacrifice whatever it takes for the beautification of the city, quite a number are already anticipating the amounts due them in compensation for the demolition of the structures to pave way for the project.
Even though some year because a man or man is a liberty fine, especially circle I say no. And I bad say a kaya young I try to one who can say about baby my insane.
Oh, I can't cry, any problem because a moment my friend is any pen. Then any problem cry.
Monarch Nina Bafi, Isawa, Kulem Nidomo, Nina Afidemo. Common situation of Berlin. You can't a young na if I were wild. If I knew a few young traffic jam can say about food. When a chigana catching.
Madame will be a back and yeah, more boy when you free home. And I'm so much as a baby acquiring a media and for second had me obey 4 plot to a boom. And he said, had at least your man 15 billion.
Right, so the very last person who spoke says he has about 4 plots around the circle within the vicinity of the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, and that he wouldn't mind if he got some 15 million cedis for it. I don't know whether he's talking about 15 million Ghana cedis or 15 million old cedis, which is like what? Now, despite the emergence of documents suggesting the Bank of Ghana should have been aware of the movement of proceeds in the controversial sale of the GNPC's drill ship, officials maintain they have no such records. At today's sitting of the Judgment Debt Commission, which has been looking into the saga, a letter from the Ministry of Finance directing the central bank to disburse proceeds from the supposed drill ship account was produced. The Treasury Manager at the Bank of Ghana, however, denied knowledge of the existence of the correspondence and asked for more time to verify its existence.
From the Finance Ministry indicates there was a designated account at the Bank of Ghana-owned Ghana International Bank in London through which proceeds from the sale of the drill ship were routed. The letter said an amount of $250,000 was transferred from the Discoverer 511 drill ship account 00011911613 to pay Aquatic Engineering and Construction Limited for repair works done on a GNPC vessel in Angola. The Treasury manager who appeared on behalf of the Bank of Ghana could not provide the Commission with relevant information regarding when the account with the UK-based Ghana International Bank was opened, its signatories, and whether it was still operational.
These letters were actually written from the Ministry of Finance.
Yes, my lord.
Yeah, by Dr. Sakuto.
One of them, Bank of Ghana, was given a copy. That is the one related to the $250,000 US.
Yes. The transfers, certain transfers were made in respect of these letters.
Yes, my lord.
So how were the transfers made? Were they not made through your outfit?
No, that's why I'm saying that we have been trying to locate the documents related to these transfers, but up to now, we haven't cited any such document.
In a related development, the managing editor of the Crusading Guide newspaper, when he appeared on Newsfile on Joy News over the weekend, also produced a copy of a check indicating the outstanding $3.5 million said to be unaccounted for had been transferred to the government of Ghana.
Photocopy of the so-called missing check paid to the order of the government of Ghana is coming from Barclays. The check number is normal 01953801. Date 18 July 2001. Paid to the order of the government of Ghana, $3.5 million. The sum of, in words, by order of Constant Solicitors. This is to Barclays Bank PLC, 222 Broadway, New York. Signed, it's here.
It also emerged at today's proceedings that the Ministry of Finance failed to deduct withholding tax on a 2.5 million Ghana cedis judgment debt paid to New World Investments Limited.
I talked to one of the senior officers in the accounts division, and his explanation was that because the withholding tax is supposed to be deducted from the gross amount, but he realizes that in some cases, some of the items or lines are not really income earned. They may be compensation or injury cost to a person. So if they don't have the details of the payment, we really find it difficult to see which components should attract a withholding tax or not.
New World Investment Limited was awarded the amount after the Ghana National Procurement Agency failed to pay back in full money they owed the investment company.
The Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority has denied claims that the state has lost some 700 million Ghana cedis through fraud at some of its bonded warehouses. At a news conference to react to the claims by a presidential task force set up to uncover corruption in the system, the division says it is unaware of tax evasion of that magnitude and urged the task force to share its intelligence.
To the reports by the Presidential Task Force, a number of notable organizations, including some state agencies under the guise of the Bonded Warehouse Scheme, dodged payment of taxes by as much as 700 million Ghana cedis. It named more than 280 private and state agencies, such as the Electricity Company of Ghana, the Tema Oil Refinery, and the Ministry of Communication, in the alleged massive tax fraud, which was perpetrated in bonded warehouses in Accra between 2005 and 2012. The GRA, however, says it is in no position to verify the allegations.
The task force is also assisting in a way, but they have got some kind of data that we don't have, and so we cannot speak to. That's what we are asking them to give to us, so that we can ascertain whether the values that they have put up in the press is in fact correct or not. We are not even too sure whether the values they are giving us are the values of the goods or whether there are taxes due on them. And if there are taxes due on those goods, whether the goods are still in the warehouses and whether they are legitimately there, where it means they have not overstayed, and if they have overstayed, how much of it has overstayed? It means that the goods are still there, we can recover them.
It, however, noted that its own investigations have uncovered some discrepancies, but said it has managed to retrieve some 71.9 million Ghana cedis.
So far, we have dealt with about 56 warehouses as at the end of September. Out of these 56 warehouses, 54 of them have been found to have goods that have overstayed. They have not been diverted, they have overstayed. We have asked the owners of these goods to clear them and pay the duties. The remaining 2 out of the 56 have been found to have some of the goods which have not been properly processed. They are not in the warehouse. Some of them have been converted into manufactured products. For these ones, we have asked that they pay the duties plus penalty. So far, we have recovered about 71.15 million cedis.
Government has, however, given the affected companies up to the end of November 2013 to settle their indebtedness.
In some politics, now former Attorney General and Minister of Justice Nia Ikwe-Otu says he's working hard to clinch the next national chairman position of the New Patriotic Party after the expiration of the current executives. According to Ikwe-Otu, who is chairman of the Constitutional Committee of the party, he has marketed himself well enough. He was addressing members of the University of Cape Coast chapter of the party's Tertiary Students' Confederacy.
Ikwe-Otu is the latest to have publicly declared interest in becoming a national executive member of the New Patriotic Party. He pointed out that apart from serving the party at various levels, he also has the clout to lead it to victory in 2016. To him, his participation in party activities and high-level committees he had chaired, coupled with his legal maturity exhibited during the famous Sir John Supreme Court encounter, has turned him into a household name. Lawyer Ikwe-Otu asked the students to put the 2012 elections behind them and forge ahead more than ever to enable the party capture political power. The NPP's legal committee chairman bemoaned the deep-seated factions that, according to him, led to their defeat in the 2008 elections and warned such moves will rip the party apart should they shelve it and pretend it does not exist.
Sometimes we sweep some of them under the carpets, believing that they will go away. But in propaganda, you just keep on talking about falsehood, you repeat it several times, and then it's taken to be the truth. So why should we ignore them for them to continue to say things about us? This idea of, for example, Asante and Achim Party, when indeed we win seats in almost all the regions in Ghana, and yet a great impression that all the seats we win are only in Asante and Akan, which is not true.
Legal practitioner Dr. Maurice Ampar posited that the failure of the Chief Justice of the Republic to preside over the election petition was disappointing and unconstitutional.
She has risen from the district court right to the Supreme Court, and its failure to preside over the election petition has denied us the opportunity to hear a side of the legal opinion as to the verdict, because under the Constitution, Article 128 plus 3 is mandated constitutionally to preside over the Supreme Court, and to hear this number case, but if failure to do so, it's not only disappointing, but I think it's unconstitutional on their part, and it needs to explain to Ghanaians.
Now, there's apparently a reward scheme for persons who are able to spot Guinea worm cases, and a 45-year-old Philip Basigi has earned himself 400 Ghana cedis for spotting 2 cases at Tampala in the Jirapa district of the Upper West region. Ghana is on the verge of being certified by the World Health Organization to be guinea worm free, and any outbreak of the disease would jeopardize its process. That's the institution of the scheme. Rafiq Salam sent in this report from Tampala in the Jirapa district.
The guinea worm disease is caused by drinking water contaminated by water fleas that host the Drancuculus larva. It thrives mainly in some of the world's poorest areas, particularly those with limited or no access to clean water. In these areas, stagnant water sources may still host cope pots, which can carry the larvae of the guinea worm. The larvae develop for approximately 2 weeks inside the cope pots and can cause the disease if they are not filtered from drinking water. After 3 decades fighting the disease, and with the introduction of some major interventions, health officials have made remarkable progress. The Jirapa District Director of the Ghana Health Service, however, says the progress can be reversed unless interventions such as the cash reward scheme are put in place. Government instituted a 200 Ghana cedis reward for people who would be able to report new cases of the disease for them to be immediately responded to.
He's always hung to the picture around, on his neck, and he goes around from house to house, even in drinking bars, just to educate people that if they find any guinea worm case or suspected guinea worm, they should report. And then a couple of months ago, he got a suspected guinea worm case. We came, we picked the samples and everything. It's been sent to Atlanta. Well, we have been given feedback that it's not guinea worm, it's a tissue. But that also shows that surveillance is going on and that people are looking out for it. He got a second case, suspected case. We came again. The samples have also been carried down for investigations. And as the government has, publicized, if you find any suspected guinea worm case, you have a cash reward of 200 Ghana cedis.
Community volunteer Philip Suri Basigi, the first beneficiary in the Jirapa district, has been duly rewarded for his efforts. But the district health director says he must not rest on his oars. A grateful Philip Suri Basigi says the reward will spur him on. Rafiq Salam's report.
Hello there, welcome to Joy Business. I'm Abigail Adomakwenchi here to update you on the latest in the business world. Now, the opportunities of a deeper financial integration of the West African sub-region against an evolving regional financial landscape is worth pursuing, according to economists from the sub-region. While financial integration can provide significant benefits for private sector development and mobilization of long-term financing for infrastructure, it will open up government and private firms to a deeper pool of financing. However, we must question how Ghana can clean up the figures, and especially in the face of the struggle to seal a huge 12% budget deficit recorded in 2012. Well, I spoke to the finance minister earlier on West Africa's integration agenda.
The fiscal issues, it's where the issue of deficit comes in, which is, revenue against expenditure and the pressures of the wage bill, which is resulting in the deficits. There is a program for resolving that, as we are now, which involves the fiscal consolidation measures, tax and expenditure measures. Then we do have the financial integration, which is the subject of this workshop, and that actually has to do with the extent to which financial institutions within the sub-region do coordinate their efforts, but also integrate some of their processes, so that they can improve the welfare of the countries that they serve. And when we talk about financial institutions, we're talking about the central banks and the commercial banks. So you can see that, we have central bank governors and we do have commercial bank officials here. Then we're also looking at the capital markets, where there's another linkage with the fiscal. And the session is also discussion. There's a third session that is discussing the extent to which Africa or West Africa can get long-term financing for infrastructure, development. So this is the scope of the workshop. On the financial, let me put both the financial and the fiscal. We do have ECOWAS already, and within ECOWAS, we have actually protocols like the West African Monetary Zone, which calls for this type of cooperation already. And as the presentations have indicated, as Africa emerges and as Africa grows, there's a lot of attraction also about Africa, and therefore there's a lot of financial flows, as was indicated, between 10 to 12 billion, dollars of capital flows have come in from financial institutions, the private sector, into the sub-region. And these are quite, large sums of money by, West African standards. So that is what, the discussion, here is about.
Well, the minority in Parliament has hinted of dragging the finance minister to the floor of Parliament to explain the circumstances surrounding the alleged financial impropriety involving the IT firm Subah Info Solutions Limited. Minority spokesperson on finance, Dr. Anthony Akoto said he was a bit confused about the mandate of the firm and needed clarity from the minister. The Commissioner General of the GRA George Blankson said Subah Info Solutions Limited was not known to have any previous experience in monitoring and verifying volumes of phone calls for the purpose of calculating the communication service tax. He, however, said the company, which was selected without going through competitive bidding, has IT experts from India and other parts of the world. Government has begun investigations into the alleged impropriety. Dr. Anthony Akoto Osei told Joy FM the minority has little details on the whole deal and must be briefed. He found it a bit intriguing that Subah was contracted to begin work at a time when the ACT of Parliament, which legalizes the operations, had not been passed. He also questioned how the IT company was doing the monitoring when the telcos had not been informed about its operations. He said the finance minister must come to Parliament to address the concerns of the minority. And that'll be all by way of business. I'm Abigail Adumakwentri.
Joy News Business was,
as always, bright on the side of sports, and we couldn't have started tonight on a better note than this, because former chairman of the Ghana Football Association, Lepawura Alaji Jaula, will be at this year's 2013 CAF Champions League final first leg tie between Orlando Pirates of South Africa and Ahli of Egypt as the match commissioner, following a CAF technical team directive. Ghana Football Association Lepawura Alaji Mohamed Jaula has been appointed the match commissioner of the 2013 CAF Champions League finals first leg tie between Orlando Pirates of South Africa and record winners Ahli of Egypt. The game is scheduled for the Orlando Stadium in Soweto on Saturday, November 2nd. This has been a CAF and FIFA match commissioner and a member of CAF International Club Committee for many years, and his umpire diligence has earned him the finals of this year's interclub competition. The first leg of the 2013 CAF Champions League finals has been handed one of Africa's best referees, Jamel Hayamoudi of Algeria. Meanwhile, Cameroonian top referee Aliom Nia looks set to be confirmed the centre man to take charge of affairs when the Black Stars of Ghana face Egypt in the second leg tie of the 2014 World Cup playoffs on November 19. Nia was in charge when African champions Nigeria snatched a 2-1 away win over Ethiopia in the first of the playoffs. Let's stay with soccer, and FIFA President Sepp Blatter has re-echoed his zero-tolerance approach to racism after the recent increase in abuse cases at various stadia, and he is convinced a radical approach will give the desired results. FIFA President Sepp Blatter says football's world governing body will fail if it does not accept a zero-tolerance approach to racism. UEFA opened a disciplinary case against CSK Moscow this week after Manchester City's Yaya Toure complained of being racially abused by their fans. FIFA's Jerome Valcke will meet Russia's World Cup 2018 officials in the next 48 hours to discuss the issue. A new anti-racism resolution passed by FIFA in May means teams can now be forced to play matches behind closed doors as punishment for incidents of racism, with stiffer penalties in place for repeat offenders. Blatter called for the zero-tolerance approach at a news conference in London, saying he had spoken to UEFA President Michel Platini at the Football Association's 150th anniversary dinner about the need for football's disciplinary committees to apply existing tougher sanctions. Blatter said implementing the new measures was not Platini's problem, and instead an issue on which national associations must be strong. Toure made his complaint about discrimination in midweek despite CSK's denial of any wrongdoing by supporters. Now straight into the boxing ring, and former IBF bantamweight champion Joseph Agbeko has signed a promotional contract with renowned boxing promoter Bob Arum, who heads Top Rank Promotions. This comes as a boost for the 33-year-old boxer as he enters the ring on December 7 against the WBA, WBO super bantamweight champion Guillermo Ringondo in the United States of America. Former GBA boss Moses Formoning believes the move with Bob Arum is just what Agbeko needs in order to win the December 7 bout.
I'm happy about this fight, but question is whether it is the right fight for him at this time. You know, don't forget, he's been out of the ring for some time. He last fought in March, and you saw the performance wasn't that good. You know, technically, Joseph needs between 8 and 12 weeks to prepare. I don't know when he signed this particular contract. Do you know? Was it
just about 2 weeks ago?
Right. So if you started training in the middle of September, or maybe in October, that gives him about.
Well, what we get from his his camp is that he's already training.
Okay, all right. Let's hope that's good. But I think he needed one more fight to get him at his best. I mean, that's the Joseph that I know. If he gets to his best and has got a good strategy against Rigondo, because he's a rugged fighter, so you need to be technical. What it means is you've got to box him the way he fought Yoni Perez, if you remember.
Exactly.
You know, that former champion. I mean, pump, in and out, a lot of skill, a lot of technique. And Joseph can do it if he is at his peak. All right, that's the problem. So I'm just hoping that he can get there, because you need both the physical, the mental, and the spiritual preparation to get him to be at his best.
Right, so just before I leave you, we're still waiting on FIFA to find out where the second leg World Cup playoff is going to be, really. Whether it's going to be in Egypt or where, we're still finding out that. That'll be all for sports tonight. My name is George Adda Jr. Do you have a good night? Israel, join us for tomorrow.
Sports was brought to you in association with
Smile. You've got Higo.
An airstrike in southern Somalia has killed 2 senior commanders of militant Islamist group Al-Shabaab. Residents say the strike destroyed the vehicle the militants were traveling in between the towns of Jilib and Barawe, seen as a major base of Al-Shabaab. The U.S. launched a failed raid in Barawe earlier this month to capture an Al-Shabaab commander. Al-Shabaab is the main Al-Qaeda-linked group in East Africa. It has been driven out of several major towns and cities in southern Somalia, but it still controls many rural areas. Spain has urged the U.S. to give details of any eavesdropping amid reports it monitored 60 million Spanish telephone calls in a month. The U.S. ambassador to Spain, who had been summoned by its EU minister, vowed to clear the doubts that are raising about his country's alleged espionage. The minister, Inigo Mendez Fedio, said such practices, if true, were inappropriate and unacceptable. An EU delegate in Washington said there had been a breakdown of trust. And then international chemical weapons inspectors say security reasons have prevented them from visiting 2 sites disclosed by the Syrian government. In a statement, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons said verification activities had been completed at 21 out of 23 sites. On Sunday, Syria submitted to the OPCW a plan to destroy its chemical arsenal. And that'll be all for international news. And you remember the American R&B singer who got Ghana debating about his smoking antic during a concert in Accra? Well, he did get away with whatever he did on that stage at Accra Sports Stadium. But coincidentally, the long arm of the law has caught up with him in his own backyard for a similar spat with the law. It turns out the Weed Act is just one in a string of spats with the law.
Don't wake me up. Chris Brown can count himself the luckiest celebrity out there, having avoided a real jail term over the years in spite of his numerous brushes with the law. Take, for instance, his alleged weed smoking incident in Ghana in March this year when he headlined the Hope City concert. If anybody tripping off y'all smoking weed, fuck them. It wasn't until he was long gone from the jurisdiction of Ghana that the police came out publicly to say they were investigating the incident. But back in the States, he has had several encounters that ideally should have landed him in jail, like his 2009 beating of his then-girlfriend, Rihanna. In that case, he narrowly avoided jail as he was sentenced to a 5-year probation and 6 months community service. And then, there are other famous, or should I say infamous, attacks on colleague musicians. There's the January car park incident where he fought R&B singer Frank Ocean, and then a nightclub bottle-throwing brawl last year with Canadian rapper Drake. Well, even though he has escaped jail all this while, his Sunday morning trouncing of a man in Washington, D.C. may land him in jail eventually. Seabreezy is said to have punched the man whose name is not given in the face and broken his nose, while the man and his friend bumped into a photo the singer was taking with 2 female fans.
And it goes on and on and on, but that's it for Showbiz. That's it for the bulletin, but before we go a quick run through our top stories, the Bank of Ghana is insisting it has still not been able to relocate records of transactions involving the sale of the GNPC drill ship, despite the discovery of some correspondence on the matter between the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank. Ghana Revenue Authority justifies payments to firm over monitoring of telcos for tax verification purposes, but downplays the amounts paid out. President Mahama has cut salt for work to begin officially on the 3-tier interchange at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. A pilot sport fine regime comes into effect in Accra, Tema, and Ashanti region. That's it for the bulletin. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Israel Live.